We live right now? Yo, two P's, yo. This is Gara Gayn at Cookie Roll of Fashion. Yo, we on live right now. You know what I mean? This is our YouTube channel. I hope everybody follow me from Gara Gayn Official from IG. Check us out, yo. We on YouTube live. We're about to give y'all a reading from St. John New Building Kids, the age of the Kraken. Check it out, man. This is a journey about young youths, man, juveniles, youths, adults, hood, street dudes from Crown Heights, Brooklyn, from St. John and Troy. We ain't talking about the whole Crown Heights. We're talking about how we intimated with the world, yo. We ain't just talking about one block. We're talking about our block, intimacy, our sensitive issues, how we dealt with the world from these four buildings. New building kids. Check it out. We're starting to read right now with y'all. Hold on. Let me pull it up. Let me pull it up, yo. This is Gara Gayn, Cookie Roll of Fashion. Know what I mean? Let's start this read off, yo. Now, I mean, this is chapter 2, Travel Fox. Last week we had a read in chapter 1, which is called Valhalla. Now, I mean, right now we went through Valhalla, man. We was journeying with G Light, Young God, Young, Quan, Jar Black, Know what I mean? We visited through we went over the stories with Mike from Franklin FA, Franklin Lincoln. Know what I mean? Those were the boosting kids from Franklin Lincoln. Yeah, this is back in the the mid 80s, man. So G Money, G Light took us through a whole long journey. So now let's see part 2, chapter 2 of that journey. Y'all with me? Let's go. Let's go. I didn't bring no one up yet because I'm not sure how to do all the bringing people up. But yo, man, check us out. We here live, man. It's our first live. And yo, I'm happy that this is what you call development. We're developing and we're going to see the progress behind our development once we get off air with this and see how the productivity behind it. So this is Travel Fox. Chapter Travel Fox with Gara Gayn, St. John New Building Kids, the age of the Kraken. Stepping off the ride and onto Middletown's turf, a spot for young cats caught up in the system. G Light was taken back by the ocean of green stretching out in front of him. Nothing but grass and trees as far as the eye can see. There was a part of him that held out hope. Maybe he'd even spot a deer or two just chilling in the spot. The driver, done with his duties, led him into the heart of the complex. This was where he met Brother Charles, a cool cat who had probably seen it all. Charles was old school, a relic from the 70s, always chilling with a cigar in his mouth and a voice that was smooth as aged whiskey. Charles ushered G Light into his office, a spot that was a little too live-in for its own good, and told him to drop the formalities and just call him Charles. He laid it on G Light straight. His job was to get him out of here, back on his feet, and home as soon as the system would let him. No sugarcoating it, no intimidation, just real talk. G Light find himself vibing with Charles chill demeanor. For the first time in a long time, he felt a sense of relief, a burden lifted. The rules were simple, the policies plain as day, just what he needed. Yo, you mind me calling you Lloyd? Charles asked, catching G Light off guard. A shrug was all he could muster. Feeling like there wasn't much wiggle room to contest, the laid back counselor went on to break it down for G Light. The joint was home to some 30 juvenile dudes, most from the Big Apple, caught for minor shit like boosting from stores, non-violent, non-violent grand theft auto, stick-ups, and holdings. And holdings. Charles made it clear he was hip to G-like situation, assuring him there was no cause for shame. At this, G-like could only chuckle. Couldn't help it. Charles then inquired if G-Light needed to hit someone up on the phone on a horn. The chance to ring up his lady Tisha was too good to pass up. Hearing her voice would be like smooth jazz to his rattled soul, causing his heart to flip in his chest. The phone buzzed. Tisha's voice bubbled through a symphony of jubilation at first, then quickly twisted into a melancholy tune. She was sobbing. G-Light heart pounded. His mind raced with the thought of their bond snapping. Ain't nothing wrong, Lloyd, she managed between her sobs. But I got some heavy news. Your pops, he's gone. Hart gave out last week. The news hit G Life like a sucker punch. His father, no longer a part of this world. The magnitude of this really drowned out Tisha's voice, left him feeling tossed in a sea of sorrow and shock. A gnawing guilt ate at him for not being at his pop's side when he drew his last breath. His mind flickered to his siblings. Who'd be their rock now? Who'd fend for them in this ruthless world? He felt so damn useless on this end of the line, he could only hope his grandma would step in, like she always had, like the angel she was. And he tried to swallow this jagged pill of truth. He sent a silent prayer to the heavens, yearning for the strength and guidance to navigate these murky waters. G Light choked back the lump in his throat and mumbled to Tisha, I'ma hit you back, baby girl. Love you. Always. He cut ties with the outside world. The phone's dial tone humming its low lament. He faced Brother Charles. The burden of his gratitude reflected in his eyes. I'm sorry for hogging the phone, bruh. His voice came out a whisper. My pops. He's checked out. Brother Charles' eyes clouded with an empathetic sorrow. The news of a tangible weight in the room. How you holding up, G? He asked, his voice a bomb. But G Light was already lost within his emotions, his mind a maze of denial and acceptance. After a moment's hesitation, G Light punched in the digits of his grandma's number. The delight in her voice upon hearing him brought a bittersweet smile to his face. In her next breath, she echoed the heavy news of his father's passings and floated a question if he could grace his pop's final send off. His heart clenched with uncertainty, and he passed the receiver to Brother Charles, who jotted down notes and dialed another number. The recipient on the other end was revealed to be Mr. Mack, the man steering this facility. Before G Light Before leading G-Light to his quarters, Brother Charles guided him outside, letting the evening breeze flirt with his face. Maybe he thought G-Light might need to let his tears rain free. But he understood. At that moment, G-Light was a dam, holding it all back. Caught in a swirl of worry about attending his pop's funeral, G-Light harbored a slew of questions. Would he be shackled and cuffed during the ride? Would he have the chance to embrace his fam and his girl, Tisha? Would he be granted the right to mourn by his father's side with his kinfolk? As the night drew its dark curtain, Brother Charles, sensing the storm in G Light, chose distraction as a remedy. He led him on a tour around the joint, showcasing the chow hall laden with a big screen TV and a game tables set for chess, checkers, and cards. The Magic Jack, their lifeline to the world beyond bars, was tucked away in the dining area, right before you hit the kitchen. Brother Charles gestured towards a giant chalkboard as they cruised by each inmate by. Each inmate had a row of digits running from 1 to 13. 1 signaled trouble, 13 akin to gold star behavior. Brother Charles explained that these numbers were a mirror to their conduct each day. A score surpassing 10 meant rewards. Despite Brother Charles' efforts in the law of rewards, G Light found himself caged by grief for his departed pops and knowing uncertainty about the days ahead. Guided by Brother Charles, they then moved on to laundry room, and the slop sink. The sink, he was told, would become familiar when chores were assigned to him for the week. Their steps echoed through the narrow hallway as they headed towards the end. The bathroom and the showers, a hard rule was in place. Showers closed at 8 in the evening, the only exception being post game nights. Finally, they reached the last but most crucial part of the tour, the sleeping quarters. The rooms was filled with rows of bunk beds, each flanked by lockers and dresser drawers assigned to each inmate. Brother Charles pointed out an empty bunk bed, mentioning that G Light's bunkmate would fill him in on the rules regarding linen pickup and laundry days. He also mentioned the lights out schedule, 10 in the evening on the weekdays, and anywhere between midnight and 1 on the weekends. The room was quiet, save for the soft snores of his soon to be roommates. An empty bed beckoned. The day's events had left G Light bone tired. He found himself surrendering to the soft whispers of sleep. His sleep was dreamless, but it felt like his eyes had barely closed when he was jolted awake by a shake. Breakfast was awaiting him, and the morning had arrived swifter than he anticipated. Jaspering into action, G Light rose from his cot, performed his morning ablutions, and with the provided toiletries, then relieved himself. He moved without noise, respecting the morning silence, and joined the breakfast queue. Turns out, turns out the mess hall was a culinary delight, courtesy of George, the resident chef, and an elder figure, Kizzy. Abundance was the rule of the thumb in here, full of plenty and fresh juice of apple and orange to wash it down. Post breakfast found G Light in the lounge, awaiting the day's orientation. Death had recently stolen from his family, so he earned the privilege to make a phone call during the day shift. His thoughts immediately dashed to Tisha as he dialed her number. He began picturing her at the funeral. He envisioned her in a modest knee length skirt, bare legged, and enveloped in his favorite scent. His mind then wandered to the memorabilia she would bring, a collection of photographs, a stack of cassette tapes featuring his hits from Bobby Brown, Guy Albie Shore, Shirley Murdoch, and some timeless classics from the 70s. His thoughts turned homeward as he requested her to stop by his place and gather some of his cherished Ralph Lauren scout fits, hoping they let him have it there. With the orientation now a breeze in the past, Light got wind of his chores. He discovered a neat trick of this joint. Extra chores meant extra points on your daily activity chart. With everyone else caught up in school, he put in a request to use the phone post lunch. Next on the call list was Indian, Miss Lowe older brother. The surprise in his voice was palpable when he heard G Light. His condolences were quick to follow, acknowledging G Light's recent loss. The conversation wasn't a solemn at all solemn. G Light was keen to get the lowdown. asked Indian about the happenings on the outside. He also sent his apologies to Pupa Danger about the package situation. Indian, always the straight shooter, on cut him short. Forget that. You good. Just get home. There's plenty more where that came from. You hear? He then proceeded to spill the tea about their recent union with a new crew called Travel Fox, who move like terrorists in the streets. This crew boasted of some heavy hitters, Vernon, who went by the street name Mata Rankins, Bush, Chucky, and this stone cold chop named John Wayne. John Wayne was the silent type, but wicked as they come. If Mata gave the green light to drop someone, Wayne would follow through and do it with a smirk on his face. In a tone laced with caution, G like one Indian, watch out there. Don't get yourself tangled up in no mess that'll get you behind bars. Indian reassured him with the promise, I'll always have your back, G, always. Switching topics, G Light asked about the photos. Indian, with an air of amusement, responded, yo, got plenty, man. Ready to drown in the nostalgia when you get back. G Light shared a tentative timeline of his return. Might be home by February, but don't hold your breath. I'll keep you posted. With a sigh, he also revealed that his clothes had been swiped at the group home. There was a slight hesitation when it came to his dad's funeral. He wasn't sure how Indian would react. He decided against telling him about his presence there. Instead, he delved into the life of his uncle, a notorious junkie that had fallen prey to every potent substance, from crack to heroin. I need you to swing by my grandma's and grab my stuff before Uncle Joe gets his greedy hands on him. G Light instructed Indian. A dry chuckle escaped him as he thought about the paradoxical nickname his uncle bore, G.I. Joe, the all-American junkie. You know, I think he got the name from me, G Light mustered. The first time he came to Ma's place, all the toys me and Matt Dillon had were G.I. Joe figures. Ain't that something? Indian began shedding light on the happenings around the block. All the grimy details and the turf wars that had transpired. Their hold on Big Under's old spot up the block had been lost. Terrence, in his foolishness, had let some hitters from East New York take control. The twins from their block, the twins from their block had stirred up the situation further, getting involved in this mess. Our eyes, our eyes are set on reclaiming that spot, G Indian confessed, but we're waiting for the heat to die down. Big Understanding's recent actions have attracted too much attention for the time being. They had taken over Lincoln Road, working alongside New Jack and his brother Kas, younger brother Kas. Indian filled with weekends with reggae circuits, accompanied by Charles Fox. They frequently clashed with Addies, a notorious sound from Sterling Place. He was a Trinidadian DJ who was known for his battles with top sounds like John Means and Stone Love. It's a whole different world, G. Indian mused. Every weekend it's a new battlefield on the sound waves. You wouldn't believe the scenes. Hold up, brothers and sisters. I want to see if I could bring International P up to live with us. Let me see how you function this. Hold on one second. Oh wow. Oh yeah. I don't know how you can do that. Okay. Hold up. How you can invite somebody? Um, can you invite somebody? Hold up. Okay. See how you could bring somebody. Okay. How you get people onto the? Let me see something. Hold on one second. Share. Okay. Let me see. I'm not sure what happened just now, but I'm not sure how you could send somebody. How you can invite somebody. I don't see the invites at. I don't see nowhere it says invite. I see the plus sign, but it don't say no. It's start a poll. Oh nah, I'm not sure. I can see it. All right, cool. I'm not sure. I'm not. I gotta go back when I get my technical team to help me. how to bring it up, how to bring somebody up. Let's go to the next page. Okay, sorry, y'all. Okay, so we're going to the next page now. All right, cool. All right. Indian revealed that he in danger had temporarily fled to Buffalo in the Rock using the money from their recent score, but the Heat had followed them, forcing them back to New York City. G Light narrated the city was ripe with opportunities. All I had to do was find the right connections. He continued. Then I asked about his kid brother, Mike, was still pushing G Life, and not a single thing could have changed. They dragged him away back then. Mislo was drawing new recruits into the gang code, but back then, G Life was fly as the sky, and there wasn't a soul in Brooklyn who could challenge him. He paused, a note of concern alerting his tone. I asked about Katrina, my cousin. She was a sister to me, and I had introduced her to both Danger and Indian. He said she was still complaining, but that he had an undying affection for her. Katrina used to see Shakem's younger brother, Professor, also known as Chris. Then, with a hint of finality, he concluded. His last words before ending the call was, I gotta go, catch you later. The following days sped past in a blur for G Light. Cocooned in his own world, much to the charging of his roommates, he was unmoved by their irritation. His surroundings took on the claustrophobic air of a prison cell. As the weekend rolled in, the camp buzzed with anticipation. Every soul was off to revel in Friday night's festivities. But for G Light, the merriment was a luxury he couldn't afford, not with his dearth of points. The campgrounds emptied, save for Brother Jeff, who chose to keep G Light company. This laid-back fellow with his Prod Seville caddy was a veteran with juveniles. Having spent his prime working with them, their conversation mentored to Brooklyn and G Light days of leading the Polo Posse. G Light recounted how he welded his influence to charm the ladies right out of their drug lord arms. Brother Jeff laughed to fill the room, soaking in the audacity of his tales. Yet he acknowledged G Light raw, dismissive attitude and shrewd street wisdom, granting him due respect. In Jeff eye, G Light was a genuine as they come. As dawn broke anew, G Light found himself navigating towards billiard holes, drowned by the familiar allure of pool. Childhood memories of carefree summers spent in Flatbush, sneaking into Downtown University's student center to swim and play pool, flooded back. His buck male was already engrossed in the game, taking on all challenges with remarkable efficiency. G Light stoically awaited his turn, only to be bested like the rest. In the aftermath of his victory, his bunkmate casually inquired if G Light frequented the gym. His ambiguous response, doing what, was met with a nonchalant gesture toward a building abutting the basketball court. It was a gym. The bunkmate proffered, suggested they go and lifted some weights. G Light acquiesced, marking his maiden foray into the realm of strength training. Later, despite the strain tugging at his newly worked muscles, he found himself immersed in a game of basketball, courtesy of his bunkmate's persistent enthusiasm. As their match drew attention, it rapidly escalated to a full court spectacle. Among their new recruits was a certain Carl Evans, a prodigy on the court, eliciting comparisons to none other than Michael Jordan. His powers was an awe-inspiring spectacle, with him dunking effortlessly, leaving Gillette relegated to aimlessly. His scurrying aimlessly, his basketball skills or lack thereof revealed in the stark light of IS 390 standards. Despite this, he remembered the lessons learned from his friends back in Brooklyn, the importance of teamwork. So he ran, passed, and hustled, playing the game not as a star, but as a team member. G Light's bunkmate, Meech, was something of a hard pill to swallow at first, but over time, they managed to find some common ground. His other roommate, Carl Tucker, was a paragon of inner strength, embodying the essence of what they refer to as a God body. They'd spark conversations sometimes so deep and insightful that even the staff would pause their duties to glean wisdom from the discourse. One Wednesday was particularly poignant for G Light. Brother Joseph, a member of the staff, had the unfortunate task of escorting him to his father's funeral. As they prepared to leave, Brother Joseph levied leveled with him. I'm not going to cuff you, young man, but promise me you won't run, okay? All July could do was nod. Their journey took them first to July's family home, and from there they joined the somber motorcade. Their destination was 1288 St. John Place. As July stepped from the facility vehicle, a familiar face caught his eye. Indian was leaning casually against a sleek two-tone Acura Legend. Trying to appear nonchalant, but his motion was palpable. G Light approached his friend, and in a silent exchange of brotherhood, Indian removed his two-finger ring and handed it to G Light, a symbol of their enduring friendship. The atmosphere was taut with grief and anticipation. Everyone present to pay their last respects to G Light's father. The scene was a stark, raw depiction of the gritty reality of life and loss in the city. As Light and Brother Joseph ascended the staircase, Matt Dillon was making his decent, succinct nod was all Dillon offered as he extended a box towards G Light. Yo, G, here's your gold teeth, man. G Light heart pounded in his chest at the mention of Tisha. He was consumed by anticipation of her touch, the sense of her presence, the scent of her presence. Under their entrance, the family descended upon July like a warm wave, enveloping him in a cocoon of familiar affection. Brief introductions were made. G Light made a point to introduce Brother Joseph, yet he was irresistibly drawn to his grandmother's room. Her tears flowed as freely as the love she had for her youngest son, now departed, and his firstborn, G Light. In a mournful whisper, she relayed his father's final request. All his money and unexpected gifts, considering his final words to July, were words of disdain and disappointment. His grandmother continued, explaining how the police department would cover the funeral expenses and his father's services would be armed with a 21 gun salute and a flag folding ceremony. To this, July offered assurances he wasn't feeling the weight of the loss yet. He promised her he would be home soon before once again ascending the stairs to see Tisha. July approached his grandmother, his voice harsh with emotion. Granny, where are my siblings? What happened to them? Her eyes were pools of age, sorrow, and wisdom, but they held no answer for him. July's mind raced with concern. He was just a young man himself, but he yearned to step up to fill the void left by his father. Can't the welfare system aid me in raising them? He asked, hope laced in his words, but his grandmother could only return a silent gaze. Raffled yet resolute, G took time to mingle with the rest of his family, exchanging sober nods and forced smiles. Before escaping to his room, there he found his solace, his sanctuary, Tisha. Her presence illuminated the room, her allure rivaling the celestial beauties of Venus herself. Their lips met in a fervent kiss before words could even be formed, their bodies intertwining on the bed in a dance as old as time. In the sanctity of their shared warmth, under the weight of their mutual desires, they explored each other, clothes discarded, Boundaries dissolved. Her scent clung to him, a faint reminder of their shared intimacy. G-Light wished the moment could last forever. Their laughter filled the room, replacing the need for words. Their connection was electric. Their shared silence speaking volumes. Eventually, they had to leave their secluded haven for the funeral procession. Seated in the limo alongside his distant grandparents, with Tisha by his side, their discreet passion reignited. Their clandestine touches and whispered promises of pleasure punctuated their journey, indifferent in the prying eyes that might discover them. The funeral passed in a blur. The return to the house was marked by forced merriment. Even brother Joseph partaking in the meal. Delight remained ensconced in his room with Tisha. He Tisha, her presence, a comforting balm on his grief-stricken soul. She provided him with everything he had requested, the soothing rhythm of music, his clothes from Indian. Soon they found themselves journeying back to the group home in Middletown. Their shared memories, a beacon of hope amidst the shadows of loss. Wow. That was chapter 2, man. Travel Fox. See, so that journey, man, that journey, that was actually nerve wracking for G Light because coming from what he went through, journeying through all the different jails he had to in part one, I mean, chapter one, and then to finally land at a medium facility group home and to be so far in the country, like so far upstate, away from everybody, none but forest and tree life. It was different for him because he wasn't accustomed to that. The only time he would see stuff like that when he was going gene or boosting or cross town, but he never got off the bus. He always stayed on the bus. The only time they ever got off the bus was to go like to the bathroom or not even that, just to go get a snack and then get back on the bus and take off and they can look out. But they will be asleep most of the ride. So G Light, man, like seeing his father was only 36 years old, mind you. He just became a cop. And actually, before he became a cop, he wasn't actually police. He was actually a traffic cop. They used to have the brownies in the 80s. So at some point in time, like 86, 87, the brownies were taken over by NYPD. So then you became what you call an NYT auxiliary traffic officer. And that's what he became, a traffic officer under NYPD. And he wore that suit with pride, man, because it was hard for my father when he grew up young, because G Light was told that his father was actually a drug addict. And it kind of found out his father wasn't a drug addict. He just smoked pot when he was younger. When he met his mother, him and mom smoked pot all the time, which is G Light moms. So like a lot of stuff that was going on, it was like a blur for G Light at that moment to see that he can't see his father no more. The last time he saw his father was in that coffin. That for any child that's 13, 14 year old to experience that is trauma. But you like took it like a he took it on the chin, man, and he took it like a champ. He didn't let it phase him to the point where it made him weak. He didn't let it become the blame game for all his problems in life. He took it and said, you know what, I'm gonna handle it and I'm gonna go forward. But one of the things that troubled you like was the loss of his siblings because his siblings had to be catered to foster homes during that time, and no one was able to help his siblings. I'm not sure if they wanted to help or just couldn't help, but they didn't help. That's the end result. The end resolution of that, they didn't help. At the end of the day, no one helped, and all three of his siblings, which is his two sisters, and his brother, had to go to foster homes, which is akin to him, like him being in the group home. So at that time, all four of July's father children was under the ward of the state. One was Division of Youth, and one was Division of Foster Care, which was both systems were damaging to these children as they grew up. but they made it. They made it. G Light made it. And when he went to the funeral, it was a lot of blessing that they didn't brother Charles or brother Joseph didn't make him wear shackles to the funeral. And allowed him to spend time with his family. Allow him to speak in private with his grandmother. Allow him to speak in private with his girlfriend. And when he seen his girlfriend, I think that was his anchor at that time. G Light anchor in society at that time was Tisha. That was his like guiding light. And like what he did in that era of St. John Polo Posse was a result of having a woman by his side. A lot of people don't understand to have a girlfriend at such young age as 12, 13, and be committed to that girlfriend and be with that girlfriend. That wasn't something rare. A lot of guys don't come into contact with relationship until they get into after high school, they get into their love affairs and their relationships. Your life was in a relationship like mostly all his young life. He was in a heavy serious relationship. And to be able to take his relationship with Tisha and extend it to his other friends like Pupa Danger, extend it to Indian. That was big for G Life to open up a relationship where they could all become family now. Like the Brady Bunch, you had 3 girls and 3 guys. It was like a big Brady Bunch on the block. And you're gonna read in the future, you'll see what was going on because of that relationship. Because of the twins, a lot of tumultuous, or a lot of tribulation occurred. A lot of drama occurred because of that relationship. But what I mean, we're gonna see if he weathered the storm. But so far, man, she how can I say, she calmed him, she soothed him, she comforted him during the funeral. And I think that was the most important part of that chapter was the comfort from your companion, the respect for a black woman. I think we all have to learn that at some point in time. I think that chapter kind of helps you see that a woman was like a black woman was there for him as a child. And that played a pivotal part of his maturity in dealing with the hood and dealing with his psychological development as we proceed. All right, man. And also don't forget, man, Travel Fox. Wow. That was an amazing crew. That was a sound. You know how big it is in the 80s to have a sound? That was like the biggest thing back then. When it came to the 90s, a lot of the young kids started mimicking sounds. But in the 80s, only big man them had sounds. And it's like when you got to be able to go to big sounds, like they had a club which was called High Room. I think it was converted to the Hut in Flatbush. Big business that was, yo, having your own club in the 80s, having your own club, having your own gang quarters. Big business was that, yo. And and so Indian was like plugging me in, like, you don't worry about that shit you lost. Worry about them drugs you lost in the group home. You don't worry about that. We got more for you, bro. We got you when you come home. Just make it home to us, man. And Indian was telling them about about the hustles they were doing in Rochester, which we call the Rock, in Buffalo, which we call Becca. Yo, they was like, and you know how look at that. Becca, we call Buffalo, right? And we call Rochester the Rock. And what's in Becca? The Holy Rock, right? That's crazy, right? Everything we go, you'll notice with El Gargain, Cookie Roll of Fashion, we always giving something a divine, holistic name attached to it. Cause that's part of our journey, man. You gotta make everything resemble and reflect you as you travel. This is part of knowing of knowledge of self and knowing of self. All right, guys, man. This is our first YouTube reading. This is St. John Newbuild Kids, Age of the Kraken, man. I see y'all for part 3, man. Be there, man. And I hope the subscribers grow. And if you seeing this, man, like and subscribe, man, and share it, man. Peace. It's El Gargain, Cookie Roll of Fashion. We lit with the flitty. This is the age of a what? The age of five. This is the age of the what? Survival of the flyers. This is the age of apocalypse. This is the fashion apocalypse, y'all. El Gargain, we with you. And we there. We the fashion apostles. All right, peace. Okay, now what I have to, how we get out of here and close. Okay, no. Okay. Push that.